Spiritual Teaching 235. Love each other. 1. Before you comes your master, like a new day, lovingly dispelling your incomprehension and your doubt. 2. Come to the banquet prepared by me, so that you can bring to your lips the good delicacy that will fill you with strength and grace. 3. I invite you to enjoy the peace of having rescued you from the rough sea, and I point out again the path of the fraternity and love, because I want you to become an example of virtue and fulfillment. 4. Dangers lurk and threaten your spirit, but my light alerts you, and your prayer will make you win. You contemplate this world strewn with evil and selfishness, man and woman wounding and sowing thistles and thorns along the path. You feel sad when you contemplate children getting lost in crooked ways. That's where the emissaries of light, comfort, and peace are lacking. 5. While the storms lash humanity, I keep opening before your spirit the book of life, so you become soldiers of peace. 6. My spirit speaks to you through human understanding. The word has not incarnated at this time, and that is why I can say again, blessed is he who has believed in me without seeing me, because he will know many teachings of my wisdom. 7. Think, disciples, how near is the end of this form of communication. The year of 1950 is approaching, and then you will no longer hear this word. If you do not watch, the temptation will surprise you, and the false Christ will present himself through workers who are at my service today, and tomorrow, because of their weakness, will deny that my word has been raised. They will put a blindfold on the eyes of their brothers, and they will lead the multitudes down the path of pain and darkness. They will put chains of ignorance to the spirits, and before them they will open abysses of loneliness and bitterness. So those who have fallen into that confusion will turn blasphemous against me to judge me, forgetting that I warned you in time so that you will not fall into temptation. 8. Know the way, that with my wisdom from the top of the mountain I call you to give you rest, to make you hear my celestial voice, blessing the arrival of your spirit that knew how to overcome the weakness of the flesh and the snares of the world. 9. Let your spirit drink the wine that I offer it. Let it continue to sustain itself on my love. The sick person will regain health, and the blind will see my light, because these hearts will open like a flower whose perfume will reach me. 10. May the charity of my divine spirit encourage your body and spirit, beloved disciples. 11. I receive you as beginners to teach you a lesson through human understanding. 12. Come closer to the Father. Listen to me and retain each one of my phrases. Analyze them, because with their essence you will be able to forget your pains, sadness, and regrets. Forget the past for a moment and live the present moment. I am the way, the truth, and the life. 13. Consecrate this moment by raising your clean thinking, because I want to reach the most intimate of your heart. 14. When by means of my word you come to understand and live my doctrine, and you have developed the powers of your spirit, you will have filled your heart with the waters of this divine source with which you can quench the thirst for those in need. 15. The purpose of my doctrine is the moral and spiritual salvation of humanity. To help you in your elevation, my spirit is radiating this light. That's the object of my message. 16. Truly I tell you that human regeneration must begin with women, so that their fruits, which will be the men of tomorrow, are found clean of the stains that have led to degeneration. 17. And then it will be up to man to do his part in this work of reconstruction, because everyone who has perverted a woman, he must regenerate her. 18. Think, men, that many times it has been you who have made fall into your nets virtuous women, looking for the sensitive and weak fibers in them. And those mirrors that were clean and that today are clouded, you must make them reflect again the clarity and beauty of their spirit. 19. Why today do you despise the same women who yesterday led to perdition? Why are you complaining about the degeneration of women? Understand that if you had been guided by the path of my law, which is the law of the heart and conscience, of respect and charity, loving it with the love that elevates and not with passion that debases, you would not have to cry and complain, and they would not have fallen. 20. The man seeks and demands in the woman virtues and beauty. But why do you demand what you do not deserve? I see that you still believe yourself with great merits, despite being scarce of them. Rebuild with your works, words and thoughts what you have destroyed, giving honesty, morals and virtue the value they have. 21. If you fight like this, you will have helped Christ in his work of salvation, and your heart will rejoice when you behold the homes honored by good wives and worthy mothers. Your joy will be great when you see that virtue returns to those who had lost it. 22. Redemption is for everyone. Why should not even the worst sinner be redeemed? That's why I say to men, work with me to save those who have been led to perdition, encouraging them with the light of my doctrine. Send my loving thoughts to your mind and heart. Take my messages in the same way to prisons and hospitals, even in places of mud, because there they will cry of regret and pain for not having been strong when the world with its temptations dragged them towards perversion. 23. Every woman was a girl, every woman was a virgin. Therefore you could reach her heart through the path of sensitivity. 24. Of the men who have not sullied these virtues, I will use myself to entrust them with this task. Remember that I have said, by your works you will be recognized. 25. Let the Spirit speak through the flesh. 26. But to those who have not known how to respect the graces deposited by me in that being, I say, why do you say that you love, when it is not love that you feel? Why do you try to make others fall and nothing stops you? Think what your heart would feel if what you do with those leafless flowers they did with your mother, with your sister, or with the woman loved and respected. Have you ever thought about the wounds that you caused the parents of those who you cultivated with so much love? 27. Ask your heart in a correct examination in the light of consciousness, if you can collect what you do not know you have sown. 28. How do you prepare your future life if you are hurting your fellow men? How many will be your victims? What will your end be? Truly I tell you, you have many sacrificed victims in the whirlwind of your passions, some that belong to your present and others to your past. 29. I want the heart and lips that have been a nest of impure and lies, become a nest of truth and chaste love. 30. Illuminate the path of others with word and example, so that you can be the saviors of fallen women. If each of you redeem even one, do not express yourself badly about that woman, because the offensive word that hurts one will hurt all those who listen to it, because from that moment they will also have become bad judges. The acts and secrets of others, respect them, because it is not yours to judge them. I prefer men fallen in sin to raise them up, than hypocrites who pretend purity and yet they sin. I prefer a great but sincere sinner to the pretense of a false virtue. If you want to adorn yourselves, let it be with the finery of sincerity. 31. If you find a virtuous woman with elevated feelings and you feel unworthy to reach her even though she loves you, if later you lower it and despise it, and if after having suffered and having understood your error you seek to find consolation, in vain will you knock on her door. 32. If all the women who have passed through the life of a single man had received from him the word and the feeling of love, respect, and understanding, your world would not be at the level of sin in which it is. 33. Do not treat your wife badly, have charity. She is part of yourselves. I have told you love each other, Start with your own family because that way you will love and understand others. 34. The Master of love and peace has shaken you with his word full of tenderness but also justice. Because if I always spoke to you with meekness, my work would not be complete. Sometimes I am a spring breeze that caresses and sometimes autumn gale that lashes. And it is that at times you feel too big. You feel loved and admired, and you are truly vain, selfish and cruel. You do not know your misery that only I have come to discover so that you can contemplate your littleness. 35. Begin to think, to act, and to live. Humanity needs new men and women to bring with it an example of your good works to show you the way of redemption. 36. Humanity, you are stumbling over each other. I have found you denying your iniquity and showing off what you think is greatness, while hiding your blemishes. And I tell you that the man who flattered believes in his apparent greatness is poor in spirit. And to those who, for lack of virtues, they murmur about the defects of others and judge the faults of others, I must tell them that they are hypocrites and are very far from justice and truth. 37. Not only those who take life from the body murder, but also those who destroy the heart with deception. They that kill the feelings of the heart, the faith, the ideal, are killers of the spirit. And how many of these go free, without imprisoned and without chains? 38. Do not be surprised that I speak this way to you, because I contemplate among you broken homes, because neglecting your duties, you have created new obligations out of them, regardless of the pain and the abandonment of yours. Look everywhere. How many homes destroyed? How many women in vice and how many fatherless children? How can tenderness and love exist in those hearts? Do you not judge that he who has given death to the happiness of those beings and has destroyed what was sacred, is he a criminal? 39. You have become so familiar with evil that even the men who invent these new weapons of death, you call them great, because in an instant they can destroy millions of beings, and you still call them wise. Where is your reason? Great can only be by spirit, and wise only he who goes the way of truth. 40. Do not confuse agitators with great geniuses, lest you give your admiration to those who only carry evil in their spirit, although on the outside they appear as dignity that they do not have. If for an instant, listen to the voice of reason and conscience, she would knock them off their pedestal. But the perverse does not like to know herself as she is. And when for a moment she contemplates the miserable man within her, she prefers to direct her thought to another point. He does not like to contemplate and value his mistakes. 41. Ah, men of the earth, how long will you not listen to the message of that inner voice of consciousness that at every step rises to reproach your unworthy acts? 42. You listen to me with trepidation, and it is that when the truth of Christ speaks, man is silent, recognizing his guilt. 43. Today I have inspired you to save the woman who on her way has stumbled. And when you introduce me to the one you saved, I will give a flower, a blessing, and a very great peace so that it does not fall again. 44. If thus you fulfilled this mission, those beings wounded by the world would feel the love of Christ. 45. I will listen when in their prayer they say to me, My Father, do not see my sin, only see my pain, nor judge my ingratitude, see only my suffering. In that instant my heart will descend to that troubled consolation and will be purifying with crying. If you only knew that the sinner's prayer is more heartfelt than that of the vain that is believed fair and clean. 46. Among the crowds that listen to my word are those women of whom I have spoken. My hand has protected from your gazes and your judgments, because I have also seated them in the great banquet of the Spirit. 47. You call them to this feast of love and forgiveness, so that in my presence they feel the love they were looking for and that they never felt or found among men. 48. My tenderness will descend into those sad hearts when I speak to them, and they will know how to feel and believe me. 49. Then you will see which is the work that stains and which is the one that redeems. You will see the wonders that the real one does love, and thus you will have helped your Lord to rebuild what you yourself destroyed. What you got dirty, I will purify it, and those fallen flowers will once again adorn the altar of the universe with their virtue and fragrance. 50. See how I come to give redemption to sinners through the lips of sinners also. 51. And you women who consider yourselves of upper classes and are ashamed to approach those who have sinned, oh, if you feel offended by it, because you have not understood that spiritually you're all the same. How many of you have not sinned materially, but with thought, and how many others you have known how to hide your faults? So if you have sinned, why are you scandalized? I tell you that both the maidens, as wives and mothers, must also fight for the noble idea that on this day I have inspired. 52. This is the teaching that the Master gives you with a word that carries essence and love for you. Work and love so that the peace and spiritual happiness, of which I spoke in what you called Sermon on the Mount, come to your heart. 53. It is not I who must descend, but you who rise up to the cloud to hear my voice. 54. In the third era, the divine word has not become man. It has come to you in spiritual form, and this part of the land in which you live has now been destined to receive the fulfillment of my promises and designs. I'm here writing the third of my testaments, and here I gathered you to wait for me, because you are the same as in past times. Just as at this time you were waiting for me, and your wait was painful, full of anxiety, only animated by the light of my promise to return. Thus in the first era, when the chains of your slavery creaked, you endured the hardships of exile, encouraged by the hope in my promise made to your parents. I tested your faith. You did merits of patience, and finally you obtained as a reward the possession of the promised land, and you found a new life. 55. The people forgot their past slavery. The false gods were far away. Oppression and servitude ended, and each child of Israel opened his eyes to contemplate that the son was his children, his own lands, that the bread was pleasant to him and abundant fruits. Great progress you achieved while you were within my law. The fame of your splendor came to other kingdoms, arousing their greed. And when division arose between the people's tribes, other peoples fell upon you, to once again become servants and tributaries of kingdoms and empires. 56. My justice took that land away from you, but at the same time I rescued your spirit, to clarify it and send it in search of this scrap of earth similar to that which you possessed, and whose virginal womb has given you milk and honey and has been lavish in blessings. 60. When the trial days have passed, you will be surprised to have come out ahead of them, and you will recognize that I was always with you. 61. I have called you at this time to give you a new opportunity to fulfill your mission, because you will share your inheritance to all your brothers, since I love everyone equally. 62. You will find a perfect peace for your spirit when you finish your fight in the spiritual valley. Now you are soldiers who fight for this cause, and you will not sleep. 63. This spiritualist people lives ignore. The world does not know of your existence. The great ones do not notice you. But the struggle between spiritualists and Christians, between spiritualists and Jews is coming. That fight is necessary for the establishment of my doctrine in all humanity. Then they will unite in a single essence the Old Testament with the second and third. 64. To many this will seem impossible. For me it is the most natural, just, and perfect. 65. When I lived as a man with you, The Church of Moses was established and represented by princes, priests, and scribes, who, possessing the prophecies and knowing the arrival of the Messiah, did not open their eyes to contemplate my signs, nor did they open their hearts to feel my presence. But when they listened to my word, they lowered their eyes, because their conscience told them that they were before the judge. But not being prepared, they did not know how to explain my presence in that way. And doubting me, they made the people doubt. 66. How few felt me. How few confessed, looking at me, that I was the Son of God. 67. After my sacrifice, a fight began. The persecution was great on those who followed me on the path of pain, slander, and prison, until death. They were thrown from their own land and walked by foreign nations, sowing my seed, which found fertile lands, in which it germinated, flourished, and brought forth fruit. 68. When the disciples of the doctrine of Christ were found strong, they sought unification with the first, making them recognize that the God who gave the law through Moses was the same one who spoke by the mouth of Jesus. 69. The fighting was intense and was sealed with blood, but at the end of it, my will was fulfilled by joining in one work the testaments of the first and second eras. 70. That is why I say to you that, before the revelation of the third era joins the previous testaments, you will have to go through the great spiritual battle that is announced. 71. Do not be surprised that the merger of the three testaments does not take place in the nation indicated in the third era for these disclosures. Neither did the union of the first testament with the second take place in Judea. Remember that not even I was a prophet in my own land. 72. Do not want the miracles of past times to be repeated. Penetrate to the bottom of my teachings, so that you discover that in all times I have come with the sole purpose of redeeming you. 73. I tell you once more, do not forget the law for traditions. I erased many traditions, but I taught to comply with the law. If in the last hours that as a man I spent with you, I blessed the bread and the wine, transforming them into my body and my blood, so that through them, remember and carry me in your heart. You must recognize that in this third era, you no longer have need of symbols, because my body and my blood that are my love, I am offering them to you spiritually in my teaching. 74. Now I want your heart to be bread and wine for your brother, loving him, enlightening him, resurrecting him to truth and love. 75. At no time have I come as a minister. I have never performed rites before you. I've only been the teacher who has given you his lessons in a figurative sense. 76. Today humanity is penetrating in spiritual preparation. The great ones of the earth are bowing down, slowly understanding his work. But it is not yet time for pain to rise from this world, because men would rise up against me again, taking science and knowledge as instruments of revenge of elements. Therefore, the cup of bitterness will be drunk a while longer. 77. And when humanity is ready, my voice will vibrate in all consciousness, and men will see that there does not exist another power, another justice, and another wisdom like mine. 78. Long is the history of this world, long also the journey of humanity, with the struggle of its peoples to reach the zenith, after which the descent and the collapse have come. How much blood shed for my children with which the earth has reddened? How many tears of men, women, and children? How many sins and mistakes? But also, how many proofs of love I have received, and how much virtue I have contemplated. And after so much living, still you have not reached the goal of peace and redemption. 79. The last battles with their bitterness and the last whirlwinds are still missing. It is still necessary for all the forces to stir and the atoms to stir in chaos, so that, after all this, lethargy, fatigue, sadness, and boredom come that appear to be death. And that will be the hour when they listen in the sublime of the consciousnesses, the vibrant echo of a clarion that, from the beyond, announces that the kingdom of life and peace draws near among men of good will. And before that voice, the dead will rise again, shedding tears of repentance. I will receive them like tired prodigals for the great journey and fatigued by the great struggle, to seal their spirits with the kiss of love. 80. From that day on, man will abhor war, will cast hatred and rancor from his heart, will persecute sin, and a life of restoration and reconstruction will begin. Many will be inspired by a light that before they did not contemplate and will rise to create a world of peace. 81. It will be only the beginning of the time of grace, of the era of peace. 82. The Stone Age is already distant. The age of science will pass, and then the time of the Spirit. 83. The source of life will reveal great mysteries, so that men build a strong world in the science of good, in justice, in love. My peace be with you.